PHYGITAL comes with a vision of 2020, which is shift to PHYGITAL, digitization of in-store experience to improve customer journey. 91% of retail sales are still generated in brick and mortar format, so PHYGITAL becomes increasingly important for retails to focus on. Innovative technology, key to unleashing next generation retail experience, micro-locationing are some of the facets that you'll get exposed to today. Smart devices weaving an unprecedented business intelligence throughout retail ecosystem, warehouse to front of store. How to capture and translate to actionable insights for an unprecedented shopper experience. You as viewers will get exposed to these facets today. You'll also get to know the new levels of insights into customer preferences and micro-customization. A continued rise of online shopping is a challenge which retailers can counter by providing unprecedented levels of convenience to help drive customer loyalty. And we'll also get to explore that what are those effective ways of driving that and what therefore is the actual moment of truth in the customer journey. And to facilitate this discussion and subsequently the panel discussion, it's a privilege for me to call on stage the lead presenter and moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Amit Sharma, founder and CEO of Narvar. Can we give a big round of applause for Mr. Amit Sharma as he comes and enlightens us on the different aspects of the digital customer journeys.
Well, hello everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. As we spoke with earlier and heard from Pratik, how consumer experience continue to disrupt in both in physical and in digital world. And that's the topic of the conversation today is PHYGITAL. So what I wanted to do is share a little bit about our experiences in this area and then invite the panelists to share their background and experience to talk about the topic that we have today. So a little bit about Narvar. We started the company roughly 6 years ago. I come from the background from retail and omni-channel. Spent over 15 years with various companies, including Walmart and Apple, looking at both back of the house, supply chain and logistics, which is a key component to drive front of the house experience in terms of customer experiences and their shopping preferences. And then back in 2012, we started the company Narvar. And our mission is pretty straightforward. We want to simplify everyday life of experiences in shopping for end consumers throughout the different shopping journeys that they interact with brands and retailers. What we have seen in last decade or so, as consumers have moved on from brick and mortar to online channel, the shopping experience online, the initial discovery to actual purchase has become quite a bit easy and convenient. But that is only half of the equation. The other half of the equation is that what happens when you really interact and convert customer online is the next half of the customer journey, which we call the post-purchase customer journey. And there, what we see is a lot of friction point, lot of frustrations that you and I as a consumer face that on an ongoing basis. Like once you place an order, making sure that even your order is confirmed, knowing that it's coming on time, when and where you want it, and once it is delivered, making sure you totally understand your returns policies, can you exchange it, how do you get it repaired if the item is not working. All those touch points are getting moved from a physical environment to a digital environment, and that's where we see a lot of frustrations. And these are important touch points because all the analysis and data that we see from companies like McKinsey or Accenture say that, and it is 5 times more expensive to get a sale from a new customer, as we know the customer acquisition cost, instead of retaining your customer and getting a sale from the existing customer. So it's really important to think about end-to-end customer experience. Not only that, and we were just listening to the earlier speaker as well, 9 out of 10 customers say that pretty clearly. If their first initial interaction with a brand is not a good experience, they will not come back and do a repeat purchase with you. And in some cases, they are actually a lot more vocal in online and digital channels talking about their subpar experience. And the other piece is that if you think about the customer retention and loyalty, 60% of those customers will actually say that retention drives a significant portion of their revenue. So how do we think about the end-to-end consumer experience? So what we see is that not only think about the conversion, but how do you really engage customers when they really are ready to interact with brands and retailers, and not only stop upon delivery, but taking care of the customer that drives the customer loyalty to drive the next round of purchase or customer engagement. And all that can be done through data and intelligence. So Narvar, pretty quickly about the company. We are based in San Francisco. We work with over 500 brands and retailers, some of the most global and most admired companies on a global level. Companies like Levi's or Nordstrom or Sephora. These are some of our customers who have leveraged our platform and technology to really engage customers both in an online as well as in physical world. So before we get into the real specific use cases, how some of these companies are leveraging the next generation technologies, what I wanted to do is look at the overall trends that we see in the industry and how some of these companies are adopting and converging both the physical world as well as the online world. So the trends we'll talk about both from retailers' perspective as well as from the brand's perspective, how they're connecting to some of these experiences. So this is an example from Nike. So Nike they just opened this store in Melrose, California. And in this example, they are really personalizing that merchandising for that particular stores. So as you all think about, how do you really engage customers, but also thinking about what is a good reason for them to come to your stores and really interact in the physical world. And they see very different behavior and shopping patterns by region in the US. So in this case, all the merchandise is based on the online purchasing behavior for that particular store. So when you walk into those stores, all the different products are really tailor-made for that level of audience profile. So they are using the online data to think about the merchandising and stocking their store in this particular example. So that they are looking at different ways of connecting not only the consumer, but even the merchandising elements of their products. So Home Depot, this is a store. They carry a lot of home products for your white goods to home improvements, whether you're looking for something in your kitchen or doing some home improvements on your bathroom or bedroom. So in what they have seen is that 75% of customers who are interested in doing some project in their homes, especially when it comes to coloring or paints, they will not complete that transaction because they get overwhelmed in terms of picking the right color for their rooms. And that's a pretty big problem. They're starting online or they walk into the store, they don't have that conviction to actually complete the transaction for the home project that they have. So they build that app, an app to really personalizing and taking the customer to the entire journey of selecting that color for the projects that they have. So in this example, they have built it Seat in My House app that allows them to use the virtual reality and taking that screenshot of their house, making a video, and then selecting the right color, really color based on their preference and choice. And they can see how that would look in their house or in their room, whether it is their patio, indoors or outdoors, they can really personalize that virtual experience. Not only that helps customer to really understand and think about the discovery and consideration, but that app goes to the next step where they can actually place that order to their local store and now come and pick it up in a very convenient and a personalized way. And this is another great example where both the digital world is helping the physical world in discovery. Not only that, but completing the transaction in store where they have all these choices to pick their personalized color for their project they're working on. So we talked about Nike, who is personalizing that merchandise and stocking their stores based on the online data. In this case, Nordstrom is a department store. They went the whole different direction on the other end of the spectrum. In this case, they opened 2 stores, and they call Nordstrom local stores. And in this example, there is no inventory, no merchandise at all in that store. Because not only customers are looking for the products, but they also want to really understand and engage with a brand or a retailer on services or experiences. So in this case, this is a physical store, but no products in there, and they are engaging customers based on services. Services like alterations. You bought some apparel online. You can get it altered in store. And you have stylists where based on your purchases, you can actually go and do some consultations. So in this example, not only you have digital, physical, but they have taken the human interaction also and really made it seamless for consumer to have that really immersive experience in a tactile fashion in a store. And this is another example where you can really differentiate the market, where it's not just the online piece of it, but you can drive a tremendous engagement in store. And this is another really good example. How do you personalize something at scale? And we'll talk about that in our panel as well. Is one thing to do a one-off project, but doing something at scale is a very different level of task or challenge. In this particular example, where Sephora has built a virtual mirror, which will really allow to personalize your product based on your skin tone, based on your style, where in a mass personalization using the technology that enable consumer either at the comfort of their home or coming to their stores and using the technology to really look at some of the products that they can really buy based on their personal preferences or their own skin tones. And they see the tremendous interaction both on an online app or bringing customers for in-store appointments and using this technology to really interact with their stores as well. So we talked about PHYGITAL, omni-channel, but what are the real examples where we see some of these experiences drive some results? It's not just experimenting, but driving some results as well, where we see that customers who are interacting and engaging with these technologies on the online world, when they're coming in store, they're spending additional or incremental up to 4% in their stores. Not only that, customers who are coming in stores, they actually go back and they continue to engage with those brands and retailers online as well. And that is also driving additional engagement and really 10% more of those sales when they are interacting with you on your websites, or your mobile apps. So those are some concrete examples where bringing these channels together really lifts sales in a true omni-channel world. And the other piece that we'll talk about is that although market is evolving both in the US and Europe and in India, we're seeing that some of these trends there as well. Like, how do we look at the in-store inventory availability? More and more retailers are investing in making sure in-store inventory is available in online channel as well. So in this example, from 2016 to 17, we are seeing a lift in-store inventory that is available online. Second piece is that a true omni-channel, you can really buy online and you can pick up your product at your convenience in store. The other piece is that, sometimes if you're not sure and you're not ready to commit to actually do the purchase online, you can at least reserve and explore those products in an in-store environment. Or making an appointment to really get that consultative approach going and using human element to really drive those omnichannel experience. And you see that in all these areas, year over year, 2016 to 17, we are seeing an uptake of using technologies and capabilities of a true omnichannel experience. So very quickly, how have we taken these customer trends and actually applied in end-to-end customer journey? So from the Narvar platform perspective, really engaging customers at the buying process, how do you really build that trust and confidence when customer is actually ready to purchase online? At the moment of shipping, showing them the exact date, how and when the product will reach to you. And really continue to engage customer while they're waiting for their product and looking at the proactive notification either via email, via SMS or other messaging channels. And then making sure that information is in front of customers, not just the goods, but information is also proactively delivered to the end consumer. And then the journey doesn't end upon delivery. How do you really look at returns and exchanges and really use technology to really drive that customer touch point? So a few examples, when customers are buying online through our platform, in this case Home Depot can actually provide you proactive notifications whether you can buy online, when they can actually come and pick it up in store. And in those cases, provide the relevant information when the item will be ready, where it is for them to go and pick it up. And provide personalized recommendation based on their purchase, what else they can really buy while they're in their store. Other example is that, as we talked about Nordstrom, while you buy something online, how do you encourage them to make in-store appointment for alterations or other additional consultations? And this is the place where delivery is done and you can really engage customers. Returns is also a problem when it comes to especially categories like footwear, apparel, where there's a lot more fit and style comes into consideration. How do you provide a seamless experience, in this case an Old Navy, where you can provide a seamless experience of capturing customers' reason if the item is not fitting or the style is not right, capture that and giving them the option of actually exchange, if not, most convenient way for them to return that item back to the retailer. And if they're in store, how do you provide a self-service experience when they're buying some item online, where they can return in a very seamless self-service fashion, where they can actually pick up a drop of an item, print a ticket, and then leave it, and then they get the refund right away. So the company Narvar started in the US, and then since then we have actually branched out to Europe. And as we establish ourselves in India, what we see is that some of the use cases that are more relevant to India are specific to this region. For example, a lot of issues happen when the orders are actually sent out, but customer is not at home, or we are not able to find customers. So how do we look at those exceptions? We can send a notification proactively and say we were not able to connect with customer for actual delivery. And in this case, a proactive notification and gives them all the personalized choice or option. So we are doing this example. This is example with Lenskart, where once the delivery is missed, customer has complete control of personalizing that experience when they can actually receive their item. So change delivery address. If you're not at home, you can actually real-time change delivery address without even interacting with the local courier company. Or you know that you're traveling and you will be available on certain date and time. So real time, you can interact and schedule an actual delivery slot when you will be available for delivery rather than going back and forth with various different courier companies. All those experiences are really relevant to India market, where especially in cash on delivery, we want to make sure that deliveries are done on time and products are not left for multiple attempts and coming back, which hits the gross margin and essentially the bottom line profitability. So how can we use technologies in a seamless and more engaging fashion throughout the customer journey, where you're taking that digital experience and looking at the physical challenges that you see in terms of actual operations and delivery and providing those experiences in a personalized fashion. So for me, as I look at various trends, how do we really look at all these different channels and drive loyalty and customer experiences that are more authentic and relevant to your brands? And that's where you will stand out in this hyper-competitive environment. And looking at not only standing out, but taking the data that you're collecting in store or online, and really making them an actionable insights that are relevant to your business. And then as consumers, we expect brands to be present in all the different channels. How do we think about in a thoughtful way of taking those physical interactions or digital interaction and providing a much more cohesive platform for brands and retailers so that consumers can actually interact with them and continue to have those loyalty on an ongoing basis. So with that, I would like to invite our panelists on the stage to continue conversation in this omni-channel experiences. So please welcome our panelists on the stage here. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So we'll start that panel discussion with a quick round of introduction. So briefly, I would request our panelists to introduce themselves and describe a little bit about the organization, and so that the audience will have context about the companies as well.
So hi, I'm Jiten Mahendra. I head the marketing for Max Lifestyle, which is a fashion brand. We operate in the value space. So the fashion and the price both become extremely important. And as you're aware that there's a huge amount of e-commerce and brick and mortar coming together. So there's a lot of omni-channel piece which is happening at our end, and we are seeing a very interesting customer journey as well as the back-end journey, which we all will discuss as we go along. Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon. Subhash Chandra here from Sangeetha Mobiles. And Sangeetha is a retail chain of mobile stores. And we are the oldest mobile phone retailer in the country. Started, though Sangeetha as a retailer is 44 years old, but mobiles in India are 21 years old. So we were the first retailer in the country to sell mobile phones with a bill and warranty. So today, when we started the journey of mobile retailing, it was one store. And in the last 21 years, we are now at 530 stores, but predominantly all over South India. We have recently expanded into Ahmedabad and Varanasi too. But all our stores are currently, all our South stores, especially all our 500 stores, are all company owned. And we intend franchising out to the rest of the country.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kapil Mahtani. I run a brand called Trèsmode. So far, we've been predominantly physical retail through our stores, through large formats, yet figuring out how to get the digital part correct. And of course, we're getting there. As we've all heard, the importance of omnichannel, how the customer expects it now. You know, it's not something which is optional. I think if you have to survive over the next 10 years, that's supposed to be part of your main business. Omnichannel businesses are what are going to be driving forward the consumer experience, driving forward the customer relationship, driving loyalty. And we're present across pretty much all metros and tier 1 cities through large formats, our own stores. And we believe the digital part would be able to, put us into tier 2, tier 3 without challenges we face on, the right retail space, retail experience. And how both of this would sync as the consumer becomes truly global next, but first travel within the country, as that's being increasing, and people from tier 1, tier 2 traveling within the country. And there's going to be a rub off how they shop in their cities, other cities. And that's where the physical, digital would come in when you need to be a brand in their consideration set. So that's what we're trying to do, figuring out how we get the digital part right.
Good afternoon. Hello. This is Mandar Ovalekar. I represent Future Supply Chain, who is one of the largest 3PL service providers, mostly into the consumption sectors like retail, fashion, electronics. So we are the link between the retailer to the end customers to ensure that the product reaches the customer at right time and right place.
I'm Akhil. In some sense, I'm the odd one out. I work with this company called Bewakoof.com. We are over 6 odd years old, and we are entirely digital in terms of our sales channels. We're a fashion company. We manufacture our own clothes and ship them all across the country. And so for us, our standpoint has been that digital, of course, is the way we want to go. But there's no way a company that manufactures its own clothes and ships them across the country can forget about the offline nature of its experience. And so a large part of what the intersection between offline and online for us is representing that offline experience in a meaningful way for our customers online.
So as you can see, we have a panel with a diverse background and experience. I would love to hear from you all, like in your businesses, one initiative that you guys are working on and you're excited about, which that is really differentiating you in the market from the customer experience point of view, or online, or in the physical stores, and some of the metrics, if you can share, like how you are able to measure success on some of those initiatives.
I'll try to answer it in two parts. One is the ecosystem which is getting developed because of the merging which is happening between the online and the offline space. So one is your current customer who has been shopping with you for a long time, and we've been in fashion for last 10 years. What we are realizing is there's a large amount of ROPO which is happening on, which is a research online and a purchase offline. And to ensure that the experiences are managed between both the channels. So we have our own e-commerce platform, which is maxfashionindia.com. And we have our own brick and mortar stores. Obviously, the brick and mortar contributes almost 98% of our business. And it's spread across the length and breadth geography of the country. We have around 260 stores and 80 cities. So that piece has become more robust. So today, earlier the whole information about our customer was only available in terms of the consumption pattern. Today we know a lot about the social behavior, because there is this Facebook, there is this buying habits on online, that all pieces coming together, and that is making our communication far more richer. So there is no one data point which has been used while you're talking about the loyal customer. So just to give you the abbreviation of the loyal customer, used to be that he is a Western wear customer, or he's a kids customer, or he's a family customer. Today that's moved beyond. We know that, okay, this is a guy who is a family customer but likes adventure and has a very different perspective about in the Facebook or in the social media. So all that put together, the dashboard while viewing the customer is not about 8.5 million customers. Now it is going to a micro segment. It is getting clustered level where you know that these are the customers, irrespective of the tier 1 or a metro, they behave differently, and their communication has to become personalized. So that is happening from the loyalty piece of it. The other piece, what is happening at the store level when a customer enters, the weakest link, which we were discussing before this conversation also, is the CRE, the person who interacts with the customer. So on the back end, there is a lot of investment which has been done by the companies in terms of supply chain, in terms of POS integrations. And the front end, the customer has evolved as he is going through various online mediums and stuff. So how to make this customer, the CRE, who is the link between the the brand and the actual customer at the store, which is the moment of truth. That's where a lot of work is happening. We have initiated a lot of tools which helps them to know about the customer, to know about the products which are available. So it is not only about facilitating, but also a conversation which can help. We have started it in a smaller scale, around 7 to 8 stores, and we are hopeful that will help us to make it bigger. The other piece, what is happening on the new customer is that a lot of brands are actually getting exposed to a newer customer. So because we have been in a certain segment because of our format, we're realizing that a lot of newer customers are coming into the brand fold. So it is not that your core customer is only going to shop you online. Online is also getting you a newer customer, a newer geography, and that customer is also trying to get you into a consideration set. So actually the horizon of a brand has become vast, because geography is not the only differentiation today, that you are not present in that city, so you cannot be available for that customer. So that piece is being taken care. So new customer acquisition is happening a lot.
Do you have any metrics you can share on that? Like, how are you seeing that trend evolving?
So just to put it on a loyalty point of view, what we are seeing is that the customers who are shopping online and offline, their average bill values are far higher than the customer who is shopping only offline. So that means that the frequency piece which we were trying to address only through the offline medium, by getting the customer more and more to the store, was not the right way, because the customer wanted to do some part of shopping offline and some part of the shopping online. So what we are seeing is the average bill value increasing, a lot of new categories getting consumed, which was not the case earlier. The articulation of category, for example, in fashion piece, if you will see in the last 1 year, 2 year, people are now going and saying at leisure, people are talking about joggers denim, because the customer has started speaking in that tonality because of the education which has happened through the bloggers, through the social medium. So a lot of conversation is going beyond just a category communication or a consumer offer, but there's a lot of fashion conversation which is happening through the content space getting evolved. So the engagement with the, so one of the KPIs, if you look at from a brand point of view, we have divided the KPIs in 3 parts. One is the business KPI, the brand KPI, and the media KPI. The media KPI purely based on the cost per contact and the the type of engagement we are doing. The other piece is the brand KPI, which is the engagement, the brand search query, which gets generated on various platforms, the unmetric score which comes up, which talks about the TAT and the engagement piece of it. And the third piece, what we are saying is that how do I get my offline customer online, and how do I get my online customer to offline? So that piece is where we are working on. So there's a lot of call to action which is getting linked to the store. The store is having a lot of call to action which gets linked to the online piece. So if you shop at the physical store, you get a coupon which can be redeemed at the online format. So I think these are the KPIs you're working right now. Yeah.
Speaking of stores, Subhash, you have a lot to share on stores, how you have established stores, and specifically some of the programs that you're running to really build that trust with your customers. It would be great to share that experience.
Well, firstly, right from the day one of our mobile phone retailing journey way back in 1997, it has been a very swimming against the waters sorts. When we started, as I mentioned, Sangeetha is a 44-year-old company. We started selling gramophone records way back in 1974. The store was opened by my father, and I've been running it now, and my son has also joined the business now. So it's 3 generations, but father's retired. Yeah, so gramophones to cell phones has been our journey of the last 44 years. And one fine day in 2001, we decided that we'll say bye to everything else and stick only to mobile phones. And that has been a very good decision looking back. So 2002, we opened our second store. So from 1974 to 2002, we had 1 store. 2002 to 2018, now we have 530 stores, and we are opening almost more than 1 store every 2 days we are opening now. That's the pace at which the expansion is happening. And the strength that we get to open at such a pace, at such a mad pace, is in spite of the fact, in fact, whoever I come across, any new gentleman that I shake hands with, the first question that I'm posed with is, oh my God, you are into mobile phone business, I really pity you, because I think the online guys are all breathing down their neck on your industry, and especially with the sort of low margins that you guys work with, God save you, is what we hear. But fortunately for us, one thing that has set us apart from the rest of the retailers. In fact, today, if you walk on a street, there are at least about a dozen or 20 or 30 mobile showrooms on every road, wherever there is a mobile retailing hub. Down south, it's a different trend. What people living in Mumbai or Delhi or rest of the country, what they have not been exposed to and what we in South, people from South can relate very easily to, is the organized retail, especially in mobile. The organized retail almost does not exist in the rest of the country, except for the large format retail like Reliance Digital or Chroma or Vijay Sales. You don't have the pure wireless retail chains like what Sangeetha is or a couple of other names down south are. So what have we done differently and why is it that only the south chains have been popular? Sangeetha was the first one, as I mentioned. And taking Sangeetha as an inspiration, there are at least another, almost half a dozen chains. In fact, in the last couple of months, there are a few other chains that are opening up and expanding massively. So this phenomena is predominantly seen in South. And how has Sangeetha stood different from the rest of the crowd? Well, we came up with a concept way back in 1997 itself. We introduced insurance on mobiles. Then we introduced EMI on mobiles. But those were all, then we introduced pick up and drop service. In case you were traveling, you were in Mumbai, you were in Delhi, you had a problem with your phone. Even though even today we are not there in Mumbai, Delhi. But almost 10 years ago, we introduced a concept called, we would pick up your phone if your phone conks in Mumbai. You're traveling from Bangalore, you bought it in Sangeetha Bangalore or Sangeetha Chennai, Sangeetha Hyderabad. You're traveling in Mumbai or Delhi and your phone were to fail, we would pick it up and give you a standby on the spot and we would either rectify it and give it back to you within 24 hours if you're in that city, or we would deliver it back home. So this is something for which we won accolades and awards and all that, which of course we are not continuing that right now. We have discontinued that, but then we have come out with other innovative things, some unbelievable things like, especially 3 years back. In the last 2 years, fortunately, thanks to the government coming out with regulatory measures, the online guys are, actually they don't discount as they used to. Earlier they were in a mode of acquiring customers and they would never adhere to the pricing. In fact, the Samsungs of the world and all the brands had a tough task controlling the online players. So the entire price hygiene went for a toss, especially in the mobile phone space. So that is when we had to think through, and it was survival. We were on thin ice, and we were facing very dangerous trends. So we came out with a concept called price drop protection. We said, okay, you might buy on Flipkart or Amazon, you might get the best of the price, probably better than Sangeetha, $500, $1,000 or whatever, depending on the cost of the phone. But and we know that we are in a category where mobile phone prices keep dropping every day. Every time there's a new model that comes out, the old model, the price gets dropped. So almost every day there is a price drop happening on some model or the other. There is, practically no day goes without a price drop. So we came up with this price drop protection. We said next 30 days, whatever phone you have bought from Sangeetha, if there is a price drop, in fact, you don't have to bother about it. You don't have to get to know about it. We will inform you through an SMS, through a unique code. You just walk into the store, tell that code. The store cashier would get to know your name, get to know the amount that you have to be refunded. Refunded in kind, I mean. So you could pick up anything with no questions asked and no conditions apply, absolutely. If there is a 2,000 rupee price drop, if there is a 5,000 rupee price drop, and 5,000 rupee price drops are common. The higher end phones, you have cases where there are 5,000 rupee price drops happening. So no retailer ever, be it Flipkart, be it Amazon, or be it whoever, the largest also, can never ever offer you that sort of discount. But we got into a mode where we call the customer. In fact, we send an SMS, we send a mail, and the store manager, the store guy who has sold it, it is his responsibility to call the customer. Literally, we chase the customer to come and redeem his money that we are refunding, literally refunding in kind, the entire money. And you would be shocked to believe, in fact, I would not believe if I were to be sitting there. In fact, I was just referring my latest WhatsApp. As of 3rd September, we have crossed 150,000 customers whom we have refunded money. And the money is past 16 crores. More than 16 crore rupees has been refunded. Nobody would ever believe it. Amongst the audience, it's very, very, very difficult. But then this is my balance sheet item. And then, so we came out with this, and this was I was for sure, I knew that it was just a survival tactic for me at that point in time because Flipkarts and Amazons were really discounting on price. We thought we will run it for 3 months or 4 months, but fortunately we have been able to run it. We continue to do it after 3 years. In fact, we would be completing 3 years by October. October 2015 is when we started this. Then we never stopped there. We said, okay, price drop, I am protecting you. Price drop or you drop. And you dropping the phone is very common. So we said price drop or you drop, you are taken care of. And we have crossed 10,000 customers. 6.2 crore rupees is what we have paid if you have dropped your phone, even if you have broken your phone into 2 pieces. No questions asked. And immediately, whenever I say this, oh, you are giving insurance, is it? Is what the response comes from the other side. No, sorry. It's not insurance. It's an assurance. It's over the counter. It's flat 5 minutes is what we take to give you a box pack. No questions asked. No forms to be filled up. No asking you to come tomorrow. No rejections. Absolutely. Over the counter, we give you a brand new phone. So in fact, we introduced theft protection also. But only thing, we don't promote theft as much because we need an FIR for theft. And if there is an FIR that you produce, no questions asked, we hand over a new phone at half the price. So these are some of the initiatives that Sangeetha has been, in the previous slide or the previous gentleman, somebody was talking about. It's, it's that much economical to retain your existing customer than to acquire a new customer. So we have always believed in that philosophy very strongly. And we have tried to retain our existing customers with all these crazy, sometimes extremely adventurous things that we have been indulging in. We came out with, after seeing the success of these things, we recently introduced Assured Buyback. In fact, a couple of months before Flipkart announced Assured Buyback, Sangeetha announced Assured Buyback. So no questions asked, and Flipkart gives only Assured Buyback for up to 6 months and only on select models. At a differential cost they charge depending on the model. We give an assured buyback by just charging 199 rupees for up to 365 days, no questions asked, 50% flat, I will take it the day you return it, any day before 365 days.
That's
Then,
great. Sorry, I also want to make sure we cover some of the...
I'll take just 30 more seconds, sorry. We also, last year, Diwali, post-Diwali, we had a meeting amongst our guys and we said, why is it that our business was not as good as it should have been. And they all said, no sir, online still, because of Diwali, they are offering some extremely crazy deals. When questioned, there was not a single offer that online was offering lower than Sangeetha. But then the impression is that online is cheaper. That has been deep-rooted across the length and breadth of the country, that online prices are cheaper. At least in the category that I deal in mobile phones, online is not cheaper, and there is also an impression that, oh, there are exclusive models available online. As of today, as we speak, except OnePlus, everything is available in Sangeetha, and OnePlus also very soon will be available in Sangeetha. So we introduced something called Price Challenge last year. We said, if you show me a price that online is offering, I'll give you cheaper than that. If online were to be cheaper in an odd case, we said we will. So we came up with a concept called, a campaign called Price Challenge, which it's an ongoing thing. So without taking any more time, over to you.
So Kapil, you play in a very different merchandise category, and it will be great to share your experiences, how you are differentiated in the market as well.
Yeah, so basically in this physical digital space, where we thought we really belong is on the physical space initially. Because they both need to be thought about very differently. Of course, they merge at some point of time, but inherently the bases are different. So when someone goes physical to shop, online you have all the information you want, but you get overwhelmed with the kind of information you find there, and you may not be able to take that and apply it to your objective or your purpose of buying. That's why sometimes you need help. So when people come into our stores, we actually not trying to sell them, because the fact that you've walked in, you intend to buy, or you intend to know, or you intend to learn. And in that learning process, if you find that we can add value to you in your lifestyle, you're definitely going to buy it. So our key role offline at our physical stores are to try to explain our product, the USP to you. See, we've been successful mainly because our products are great. In order to keep that ecosystem, it's very important to have the right experience at the store level to get that great across to you, because your impression, whether it's with this storefront look, whether it's with the way the merchandise is displayed, whether it's with any communication you have with any members of my team on the floor or the store manager, or the way the product looks, is forming an impression which will play a key role in whether you buy or not. So the important part is, if you're trying to sell something great, you need to ensure the whole ecosystem also follows as great. So when we looked at the online model, we said that, listen, there are a consumer out there who knows what he buys, and he buys that, periodically every 3 to 4 months. And that he wants to buy on convenience. He knows it. He doesn't need to have different kind of information given to him, why he should be buying it, whether it's comfortable, whether it's not comfortable, how does it look. So for example, let's put a type of product in discussion so you all relate to it better. So a person who's buying a simple loafer, a blue loafer or a brown loafer or a tan loafer, he knows the product because he uses it. So a product like this can be just purchased on the basis of convenience. So you'll say, why should I go down to the store? I just want to have the assurance that if I'm not feeling right, or it's not fitting right, I'm not stuck with it, or I'm not losing money on it. So then he says that, okay, although I like shopping offline, but there is a convenience part which I will use, and I will do this online, because I have the comfort with the brand, I have a comfort with the fit, I have a comfort with the product. Let me try buying it digitally and get it going. So that takes care of his day-to-day, everyday purchases. But then at some point of time, he wants an occasional pair. So suppose he needs to attend a wedding, or he needs to go, he's getting felicitated, he needs to dress well, or he needs a certain type of product. He researches everything online, he knows what product fits well, what doesn't fit well, but he yet wants to physically go there to, merge all the knowledge he's accumulated across the various research he's done, and have that, broken down or just narrowed down to him, and say that in this context, in this occasion, or in this method of dressing, this is what you should be wearing. That gives him that little boost of confidence that, yes, this is exactly what I feel good wearing. See, a lot of times when people go into the store, they're overwhelmed with information, so they find it difficult to make a decision. It happens to all of us also when we buy. We have so much information there that it's very difficult to decide which one is the right purchase. So online, offline really needs to play these crucial roles. When the guy goes offline, it needs to be narrowing down of the information. It needs to be help him on the selection process rather than try to sell to him. When someone knows what he needs to buy, it's very easy to go online and buy it, because you already know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Now the whole experience offline also needs to have the digital feel to it. So for example, if you walk in there, you don't want to go to a cash counter to check out. You want someone standing there, you've tried the product while you're wearing on your new old shoes, he's checking you out while you're sitting there. So it's got to be a mobile checkout, you've got to have a digital receipt, you've got to have electronic payments. So that's another area where, online, offline really meet. Sometimes it also happens to do with how Max is doing it. You can go reserve it online, and you come back and you buy it offline, because, you've done your research, you don't want to spend time shopping. You realize you've got very limited time offline, you go there, you've reserved it, oh, it fits well, it's perfect, I buy it and go. So these are the various ways omni-channel is going to come into play, and it's people who don't follow it are going to be history, because, we have to be driven by the way the consumer wants to behave. We can't be driven by, historically brands behave the way they wanted to be perceived, the way they wanted to behave. You had a lot of brands who came and said, oh, this is the way we do it. And in fact, even now, you go to Ferragamo, you go to Gucci, you go to, they'll have lines outside their stores. Do you think customers really have the patience today? Do they really want to go through that? Maybe for the next 4 to 5 years, okay. But if that continues, even at luxury, they're going to lose out because the consumer has very limited time, he has very limited patience, and he has very limited mind space. So the whole omni-channel has to fit in right as a puzzle, keeping the consumer in mind and saying, what does he want? What does she want? How do I give him what they want? How do I fit into their lives? How do I make their experience more convenient rather than saying, oh, this is me and I do it my way? So that's what we've learned, and that's how we are, trying to figure out our whole omni-channel experience and roll it out.
Thank you, Kapil, for sharing your experiences. Mandar, you come from a different expertise and you work with a lot of retailers to connecting the back of the house to front of the house. So what are some of the things that you work and partner with retail to really differentiate in this marketplace?
Correct. So what we do is that, so we saw in earlier video wherein in Big Bazaar, how Big Bazaar is attracting customers, huge crowd they're attracting and using a lot of technologies to engage that customer. Amit, you yourself talked about the returns, how to enhance the customer experience in the return part of which is normally neglected part in the industry. Then Jiten talked about the loyalty and the customer's piece, or Subhash spoke about how he is expanding 2 stores in a day. So we talked about volumes. So our future supply chain's major role is to basically not to let down retailers like you in the field of customer experience. Okay, so what we use a lot of technologies and we strive day in and out to get a right technology to ensure this product reaches you all in time and at the place where you want it. So we are into distribution centers. So we are using a lot of automation in our distribution centers. So for Big Bazaar itself, the target of our chairman, Mr. Kishore Biyane, is 30 crore units in a year for 2018. So we are ensuring that we meet this target. So getting those 30,000 crores garments to be sold, there are a lot of challenges which we face. So we have put in a lot of technologies, automation. We have state-of-the-art sortation systems, which has capacity of rolling out around 10 lakhs eaches in a day. So that is the capacity which we have built in. We are currently churning out 7 lakhs eaches in a day of garments from one single DC. Then this is all about the distribution centers, wherein we have sortation technologies, we have semi-automatic technologies, we are using conveyors extensively to load trucks or to unload trucks. Then once the truck or the consignment leaves to your destination, to the retailers, we ensure that the technology is used to integrate the customer systems, because Future Group is our own customers, we are already integrated. We have also a tech piece wherein we integrate with retailers and give them a real-time visibility on where your product is, when it is going to reach. So track and trace of product from order to the delivery is what we are into. So we are continuously developing this technologies, evolving these technologies, and using whatever technologies which are coming newly into the market. For example, with this kind of network, we have a lot of data which is coming. So to process that data, we are using robotic process automations and also AI, which is in the plan, to ensure that we don't miss out on the time which we take to market. And that will definitely reduce the cost which is taken for the market.
Thank you, Mandar. Akhil, you started as a digital native company. Online experience is the core fundamentals for Bewakoof. How are you differentiating in the market in this space?
Right. So a lot of what I'll talk about perhaps will look like a summarization of what's been spoken about already. But I think a huge advantage of being online is that you are in many ways facilitated to give your customer a seat at the table, when otherwise the customer may not have had a seat at the table during decision-making processes. We are extremely aware that we see a user placing an order, but in reality it is a human being buying a t-shirt. And trying to kind of bridge that gap is something that is actually increasingly becoming easier and easier to do online. So while earlier I may have spoken to you about numbers like 100 crores in revenue, I can now also further deep dive into the conversation that needs to be had about attention. So a lot of what we were speaking about earlier is that it is possible for me to define very clear metrics to measure whether or not I've represented my customer in a meaningful way within the organization. And the easiest way to do it in English would be to say, have I retained this customer or have I lost this customer? When you're online, it's very easy to attach metrics for retention and metrics for acquisition. For instance, I just need to know if someone who has shopped from me today for the first time continues to shop from me over the next 1 year or 2 years. I can assign a lifetime value to this user and understand whether or not this number is growing, whether the number of purchases a person I've acquired in June makes is more than the number of purchases someone I've acquired in May makes. If the number of purchases people are making from bewakoof.com as and when I acquire them increases, that means that my ability to retain customers is improved. Now, that will reflect in sales, that will reflect in the kind of NPS I see, that will reflect in the kind of customer experience my customers get to have. The huge advantage, in short, of this portion of what I'm speaking about is that I don't need to guess anymore what my customer wants. I no longer at bewakoof.com have the right in the core group meetings to say I don't know what the customer wants, because there's just so many ways to find out. Based on how a person behaves through the site, I can tell where people spend more time on the site, where they spend less time on the site, and very easily tell that there's a certain product people are more interested in than others. Based on how they're acquired through ads and through searches, I can tell what they're interested in. And based on what they've purchased and what retained customers tend to continue purchasing, it's very easy for me to know what a customer wants, and I can no longer afford to not give customers a seat at the table. The second portion of this is how the physical space kind of interacts with the digital space, especially for a company like ours. I'll go back to what I said earlier. I see a user placing an order, but in reality, it is a 24-year-old girl sitting in Bhilai buying herself a t-shirt. And as the experience on my site or my app on bewakoof.com starts from when someone might see an ad or search or key something into Google to when they land on the page, when they go through 5 different screens on the app or the website, then place an order, then wait for the order, and then finally receive it, and then maybe choose to return it. That is the entirety of the chain. And we need to identify, and we have, metrics to measure the success for the customer, the reduction of the customer effort on each of these stages. So does my product do a good job of communicating what a person might want to know when they're placing an order? That's something that we can measure by seeing what the success of my product page is like or the category page is like. Are people satisfied with the logistics experience? That's something I can measure by asking people if they've had a good logistics experience, by asking them to rate us. Are people liking our products in the physical offline world where I don't get to interact with them because I'm purely a website? Yes. If people tend to return certain products more than others, I can tell that they don't like certain products and they like the others. So for us, a large part of where the physical part of this conversation enters the picture is because we're only trying to approximate a physical activity through a digital platform, but it's becoming easier and easier to do it. And so perhaps the outlook I bring in is perhaps from the other standpoint. But this is what we've come to see. The offline space is getting better and better represented online through tracking, through all of these things.
So, you mentioned you're looking at end-to-end customer experience. So let's start with you, Akhil. If you think about customer experience, is there any one specific area you see the friction point in that customer journey that you would like to improve or make it better?
I think there are several. I think, or maybe I'm just pessimistic, but I think there are many ways we can make the lives of a customer easier. The way I and we in general see customer experience is from 2 standpoints. One, from the standpoint of customer effort, and the other from the standpoint of customer delight. But the first comes first, in that we don't want someone to be left worse off because they interacted with us. We would like them to be left better off because they interacted with us. So we get the basic sanity check in place. This happens across the board. We don't want to make you see an ad which is not an accurate representation of what you're eventually going to buy. When you land on the product from seeing an ad, we don't want you to not get for instance, if you were to buy a pair of boxers, you cannot return a pair of boxers. We want to give you that information right away on the product page so that you don't purchase this and then later have to cancel it because you discovered this somewhere else in the process. Similarly with logistics. So throughout the value chain, the answer is yes. We want to be able to reduce the customer's effort by giving them the information they need when they need it. To be specific, I think in India in general and with us as well, especially in the e-commerce space, there's a lot to be improved upon in the logistics experience. I think there is a huge gap between, overall as an industry, between what is happening on ground and between what the customer gets to see. So if when something gets shipped out of our manufacturing facility, it goes through several points before it reaches the customer. All the customer sees is 4 days and a tracking bar with 4 dots in it. The difference between how Swiggy or Zomato shows me how an order is to reach me and how something that goes from Mumbai to Bhilai in the example I took should be vast, because there's so many other steps in between and there's so many other touch points where the customer can come and say, no, I want something different. Like how you showed us, the address needs to be changed, something of that sort. So I think the biggest gap that we can improve upon as an e-commerce industry overall is how we make the experience of waiting for the product a little less excruciating for our customers.
Right. Kapil or Subhash, how do you guys see any challenges that you see in the customer experience journey that you would like to change or improve?
Well, some of the initiatives that in the last year or 2 years we have come out is that we are more of a offline player. So one thing I have seen is hardcore offline guy has not got it right in the online space. A hardcore online guy has not got it right in the offline space. Not just Sangeetha, I think most of the guys, that is what I at least come across. So one of the challenges, especially in an industry like mobile where there are so many new models coming and all that, and there are so many color variants today, I'm sure it's even more challenging in a fashion. The customer walks in and in a particular store, and the store just ran out of stock. Let's say it could be a very expensive Samsung Note 9 or iPhone X, which are quite expensive, and there are different variants and then there are different colors. So depending on the store potential of what they sell in a week, we normally carry about almost overall store we carry almost 30 days stock, which in itself is very high. So we can't afford to carry more than that. So, but then it's an everyday situation where the customer walks in and suddenly he realizes that the stock is not available. So what we are doing there is, today the customer is anyway used to buying online. So we are making him buy, and we are ensuring that the delivery happens to him at the store, at his home in the next in the next 2 hours. So, and even if it's an odd model and it's in short supply and it's nowhere available in Bangalore or Chennai, it could be somewhere in Kakinada or somewhere in Madurai or somewhere in Belagaum or Shimoga, any nook and corner. And we are well entrenched by 500 stores all across South. So it just gets shipped from that city
directly from the store to
directly to the customer's place. If it's available in the same city, then there is a guy who is going to him and he is doing all that data transfer, contact transfer, providing him the accessories. It's not just the typical online experience. It's more than, it's almost the offline experience being delivered to him at the customer's doorstep.
It's more like a concierge experience.
Yes. That is one thing. And similarly, somebody who is buying on sangeethamobiles.com, we offer him EMI on delivery, card on delivery. Even today, there are customers who are not comfortable to enter their card details on the site. So our guys carry the machines and they do These were primitive things. A couple of years back, this was happening. But even today, customers still want that. So we do the EMI on delivery, card on delivery also. And anywhere in South India, except Kerala, where we are yet not there, we are in a position to deliver in a maximum of 1 to 2 hours, generally.
On the fashion side, anything that you guys are looking at from the customer experience challenges that you guys are addressing?
So I think one important thing what we're trying to do is that we're creating a omni-channel dashboard, because earlier this whole matrix of online customer and offline customer, that itself we're trying to eliminate. What we are saying is that certain percentage, we have 10 million odd customers on the offline space, at least 20% of our sales should come from these customers in online. So how to do the offline customer migration to the online, that is one piece what we're working. We just launched Click and Collect, which I think is a interesting thing. What we're trying to do is that we're trying to give the dual credit to the store for the online sale. So it is not the offline versus online. We're trying to integrate, saying that if the sale is happening and if the store is in that particular area, the store gets the code. We are also trying to facilitate the CREs that he can do the sales online directly in the store by enabling the Wi-Fi. So if a customer needs a specific product, he can go online on maxfashion.com, check out if this particular product is not available, take the order and place the order.
Right.
So we're not losing that piece. The other piece, what we are trying to do is that more and more matrix and convergence, so things which we are not able to do offline, for example, limited edition or introducing new categories because of space constraint. We are trying to do all of that online, by launching, let's say, a maternity wear range we launched only online, not in the offline space, because space doesn't gives you the space is not available for you. So a lot of new limited editions, special collections, using that base more as a prosumer than a discount seeker, and trying to build new categories online and then get it offline. That's what we're trying to do right now. Yep.
Great. I think with that, let's open up the session for Q&A and see if our audience has any question for our panelists here. There's one question there.
For you, sir. Sir, you had explained some immersion technology. Can you just little bit give more information on that? Immersion.
Okay, so say that the question again, please.
Yeah, you has given some explanation about immersion technology. Can you give me some more knowledge about that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as consumers are interacting across multiple channels, if you look at last 10 years, consumers have actually got more matured on web interactions, online website. It took them only 5 years to use mobile experiences, and now they're going to messaging platform, whether it is WhatsApp or you go in China in WeChat or Line in Japan. So messaging to voice. We see that that next emerging trend would be voice interaction. This is not the call center. It is like what Google Home is using, or Alexa, which is from Amazon, where this is a new way of interacting in a seamless fashion, where you can have voice commands, especially in India, where language is a barrier. Feature phones, we talked about it. How do you even type or interact? If you have all those seamless way, especially on Android devices, when Google Home or Assistant is there, you can actually tap and actually interact in a seamless fashion. So we see that voice in next 3 years will play a tremendous role in driving consumer experiences and shopping experiences for initial consideration or ongoing engagement. So that one thing that comes to mind, that you'll have more and more of those channels that will be available in next couple of years out. I guess this is a wrap for our panelists. With that, I'll thank you all. Please give a big round of applause for our panelists here.